Hey everyone, Heather Earls here. Thanks for coming on today's episode. This week, like every week, I'll be talking about natural living and healthy tips that will get you to rethink how you live and what products or habits you can easily change to better your life. So let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to Urban Wisdom. Well, our topic is how to make Sicilian bread. Now, Sicilian bread is easy to make, but it does take a little time because it's a yeast-rising bread. However, there is no need to worry as I give exquisite details if you just go to heatherearls.com/Sicilian bread and or just keep listening. Now, in the end, you will be a pro and will have a new recipe to include in your recipe box. Sicilian bread is a go-to bread in our house. I make it quite often for the family and when we are expecting company. Pair it with a hearty supper such as pasta, stews, or soups for a complete meal. It also makes a nice breakfast bread that you can toast and then add some of your favorite toppings. You guys ready? Let's begin. Now the ingredients and measurements. You want active dry yeast, 1 tablespoon or 1 packet. Warm water, you're going to need 2.5 cups. Salt is 1 tablespoon. I use a little less. Now you want unbleached all-purpose flour, 5+ cups. Olive oil, you're going to want 1 to 2 tablespoons. And lard/shortening, you want enough to cover the bottom of the pan. And then cornmeal, enough to sprinkle on the bottom of the pan over the lard or shortening. And I'll explain that in a little bit. You guys, this recipe makes about 2 loaves, and the prep time that includes the rising and everything is around 4 hours. So the items you're going to need is 2 loaf pans or a cookie sheet. You want a large bowl, measuring cups, measuring spoons, a kitchen towel, like one of those white thinner kitchen towels. If you don't have those, that's fine. Just pick your thinnest kitchen towel, and a cooling rack. Now the directions, you want to take your large bowl and measure 4.5 cups of flour into it. Now make a well in the center. In your glass measuring container, add 2.5 cups of warm water. If you do not have a measuring container that can hold 2.5 cups, use a small glass bowl. Once the water is in the bowl, add your packet or 1 tablespoon of yeast, and you want to let it sit for 5 minutes. And you guys, oftentimes, I actually put the salt in here at the same time. You put the yeast in there, let it sit a little bit, and then I add the salt also. It just seems to mix better. Now, if you prefer less salt, use the desired amount you guys want. And then you're going to stir into the yeast mixture until dissolved. So that's the salt we're talking about. Now, when the salt is dissolved, pour the mixture into the center of your flour well, all the flour you have in the big bowl. Cover and let it sit for 15 minutes. This is called sponging. Now, when your 20 minutes is up, remove the towel. You should see little bubbles on the top, like air bubbles. Now, start stirring with a fork from the center of the flour and work your way out or toward the outside until you have a sticky dough. From here, keep adding flour and knead your dough until you have a spongy, not sticky, consistency. In other words, you guys, when you press on the dough slightly after kneading it, the dough should spring slightly back, but it shouldn't stick to your fingers. Now, you want to add your olive oil on top and roll the dough around it so the olive oil covers all sides. Now, you just leave it in the bowl and then place a towel over the top and let it rise until the dough is double in size. Now, once it has risen, make a fist and press down in the middle of the dough to deflate it. Now, place the cover back over the top and let the dough rise again. You're going to double rise it, okay? Now, while the dough is rising, you can prepare your pans or cookie sheet. With your fingers or a paper towel, rub lard or shortening on the bottom and a little up the sides if you're using a loaf pans. Now sprinkle your cornmeal or flour on the bottom and tip over your pans or cookie sheets to remove any excess. So I sprinkle it around and then I kind of just shake the pan so it covers the surface. This just prevents the Sicilian bread from sticking on your pans, and it kind of adds just a little extra flavor, makes the bottom golden brown. Now next, you're going to split the dough in half and shape each piece into an oblong form to fit into 2 loaf pans or on your cookie sheet. Now cover once more and let it rise. Now once the desired height is reached, place the pans into your already heated oven. You guys, because once you put bread in, it's going to rise just a little bit, but if you have if it's not risen, so say you have 2 loaf pans, okay? If the dough is halfway up the loaf pan, it's not even going to reach the top of it when it's done rising. So you're going to want it like 3/4 risen in that loaf pan at least. Now, once it's in the oven, you're going to set a cup of water or bowl in the oven if you want a chewy crust. Now, cook for 40 minutes depending on your type of oven, or until the bottom is golden and the bread sounds hollow when you flick the top of a loaf with your finger. Now, if you go to heatherearls.com/Sicilian bread, the pictures, you're going to see these pictures. You will see 2 loaves of finished Sicilian bread. The first one has nothing on it, while the second I have rubbed a little more olive oil on the top to give it a golden hue. You guys, you can use butter or different kinds of oils. I like to use olive oil because it adds the flavor into the bread, okay? Now you want to let finished bread cool on a wire rack and then serve with a homemade soup or fresh with a little butter and honey. And I'm telling you, that is my favorite. We have homemade butter we make, and you guys, if you're interested in that, just go to heatherearls.com/homemade butter, or how to make your own butter. A little honey, and it is fantastic. That's all I need for dessert. So you guys, enjoy your new recipe, and remember to share it with friends if it's something you think is worth passing on. So I love you guys, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Urban Wisdom and Natural Living. Tune in next week, where I'll broadcast live every Monday morning at 8 a.m. If you miss it live, hold those tears and head on over to my blog, which is heatherearls.com. That's Heather, EARLES.com. There you can have 24/7 access, or right here on iTunes. If you want to follow me on social media, you'll find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Have a healthy week.